Welcome to another session of Activity Director Best You Can Be. We're going to talk about religion tonight. And this is important because you have got to have religious programming and offer it in your activity program. So sometimes I know people don't feel really that comfortable with it because they're not that far along with their own spiritual journey, but we have to offer it to people. And so I would encourage you, and we'll give you some information about God Cares. That's where I took my training, and it really helped me understand what the older adult wants, needs, and is comfortable with. And it was a great exponential growth in my ability to offer good programming. Once I took that class, I realized that people are lonely, they're frightened, they're scared, and they're afraid sometimes to talk about these things. But the programming when you give good religious programming, that does wonders for your building because it changes how people relate with each other. It offers them communication, it offers them help with a problem that they're not sure about. It offers them a faith growth. It gives them hope. I can't say that enough because it totally changes people. Instead of having them now be isolated, they come together in a community. And they're not afraid to talk to each other. They're not afraid to say, I don't understand that either. Or I want to know more about that too. So there were 3 programs that I put together for my building, and the first one was a regular sermon. And what we did here was the minister would come in, ask, does anybody have problems or concerns? They'd sing some songs, then he'd give a sermon, and then at the end of his sermon, he made sure that he addressed everybody's concern in a prayer. It was brought to the cross that this was a problem. So-and-so is worried about their daughter, or so-and-so is not feeling so good and going to go in for a new test. Can we have some prayer for that? Okay, so that brought people together, and it broke down all the barriers and developed a trust and a friendship that they weren't getting anyplace else in the whole building. It was critically important. The other thing that we did was that I had another gentleman that came in as a pastor, and he wanted to just do a Bible study. And I had a lot of people that wanted to know more about the Bible. They were questioning it, and they wanted to figure out, is this right? Is this not right? Is this true? Is this not true? And so there were a lot of unknowns that were answered. And that brought it together a very strong group. And they always wanted to have that pastor come in and do a Bible study. And when he wasn't there, I tried to run it. I wasn't as successful, but we did work on it. So what I'm saying to you is very important. Is, if the pet therapy doesn't come in, everybody's disappointed. Well, it's the same way with religion. When you have programs that are being offered on a regular basis, they need to be offered on a regular basis. People don't want to miss them. They're that important to them. And it is a federal and state requirement that we have religious programs to meet the people's needs. And the final group that I had come in was a minister who came in. He was retired pastor, and he came in and he sang songs. And then he'd stop in the middle of the song and he'd say, you know where that comes from? That comes from Luke chapter 2, verse 7. And then he'd say, okay, this is why this song was developed. This is the important part of this song. And that's really important because many times, when you think of the Christmas story, how do we learn the Christmas story? We learn it through carols, through hymns. And if that's the way that we can reach people, then we need to provide that programming too. The most amazing thing that I have often found out is, doesn't matter, whenever you sing, Jesus loves me, everybody knows that verse. And everybody feels loved because that's where it started when we were children. And that's important. And so it's very important that you do have religious programs And also, not just Christian Judeo, but also make sure that you're offering Buddhist, Hindu, if you have a need for Jewish, if you have a need for Muslim, make sure that you provide that. Get the resources that you need to make sure you can run a program like that and offer it. And another thing too, sometimes people say, "Well, I'll go back and I'll do religion when I get out of here because I'm not going to be." No, no, no. If a gentleman has been interested or a lady's been interested in their men's fellowship or their ladies, invite that church group to come in and say, "I'm going to close off the private dining room, and you can have your men's fellowship every Wednesday night down there. I'll make sure there's coffee. You just have your people from your church come in. That'll be fine." So this is what's important about it. And so we will have you contact God Cares so that you can get more information. Some of the information is free. Some of it you may want to give a donation for. But what is important is that you start your own spiritual growth so that you can have good programming in your building, because it changes your building. It changes how our residents deal with each other, the patience that they have with each other. It changes our staff because they're all now starting to practice unconditional love and have a deeper understanding, and they're not isolated and afraid. They're not afraid to talk about this stuff, and that is so important. So I hope this has been helpful, and we will talk more.